Did you know that you can make an entire quilt using one jelly roll? You sure can. Let me show you how. Let's address the question that y'all are asking yourselves if you are brand new to quilting. What in the world even is a jelly roll? A jelly roll is a rolled up package of pre-cut fabric that is 2.5 inches wide, and the strips are typically between 42 and 45 inches long, which is like a standard width of fabric for quilting cotton. There's usually about 40 strips per roll. Sometimes you can get them in smaller quantities or larger. Always check the number in your roll compared to what you're wanting to make. For today's tutorial, I want to show you how to make a quilt using just one of these jelly rolls that you can get at a quilt shop. The easiest project that you could do using this jelly roll would simply be to just sew the strips together, like straight across the board. But that's kind of boring. And also, I believe in you more than that. We are going to make a classic rail fence quilt top. Let's get started. For step one of this project, we are going to make sets of 3 until we run out of fabric. To make it as visually interesting as possible, I like to do like dark, light, dark. If that can work out for you in this project, great. If it doesn't, that's also fine. So a good pairing I feel like would be maybe these 3 together. Sure, that's great. Folding it up, setting it aside. So I'm gonna keep making little sets of 3, and then you do the same, and we'll meet back here and I'll show you how to sew these little strips together. Once you have all of your little combos put together, it's time to start sewing. I've got regular white polyester thread loaded, and I have an 80-12 universal needle. The foot that I'm going to use for this is my 1/4 inch quilt foot. The reason I like this foot is because it's got this little built-in wall on the side here. And it's something that you can push your fabric up against to get a true 1/4 inch seam every time. But the main thing you need to remember is to make sure your needle is to the center for this. Some machines, when you turn them on, are left justified, like mine, and I have to remember to put it towards the middle. Otherwise, you'll crash right into this metal foot and break your needle. It's a terrible way to start our sewing project, am I right? You can use a regular like zigzag foot or whatever the main sewing foot is for your machine, the suggested like regular foot. That's fine. A quick tip would be to take your ruler and measure from the needle 1/4 inch over and see if that's on a, like if that lands on a notch on your presser foot, or if you need to put a little piece of tape there to remind you where that 1/4 inch is. All of that is fine. A lot of times this comes with your sewing machine, so check your kit first to see if you have one. It really does make things easier. I want you to take your first set of fabrics, and remember, we're trying to do light, dark, light, or dark, light, dark, whatever that looks like for you. And that may not work with the fabrics you've chosen for your jelly roll, and that's fine. Lay your 2 pieces together with the raw edges touching, and we're gonna sew a 1/4 inch seam right down this side. Lower your presser foot. Now, the back stitch is a huge controversial topic when it comes to quilting. I don't mind using a back stitch. Some people prefer not to do it, falling under the thought of, you know, it's just not necessary, or it adds extra bulk to your seam because there's extra stitches there. If you are brand new to quilting though, a back stitch might help you in this circumstance because it locks in your stitches. So if you feel comfortable doing a back stitch, go ahead and do it. I just did, and the police aren't coming, at least that I know of. We'll find out, I guess, in a few minutes. Then you're just gonna wanna start sewing your 1/4 inch seam. My eyes are not on my needle. My eyes are on where this fabric meets this plate. That's what I am watching, because that's what I wanna make sure is constantly being lined up properly. If you keep that fabric hitting the side of your presser foot wall the whole time, just at the same distance, that's what's gonna give you an accurate seam. That is going to matter as you progress in your quilting journey, but for right now, you just do the best you can. Look at that, you sewed a seam. All right, now take your next piece, lay them pretty sides to pretty sides, and you're gonna do the exact same thing again. I think a lot of times when we're starting out with something new, we're so afraid of failure that sometimes it cripples us and we don't feel as brave as we should. I personally don't get that because I was born with this trait where I feel like if I try at anything, I can probably be good at it, which sometimes actually works and sometimes really doesn't. But I usually don't realize that till I'm way too far into it to go back. So there's a balance for sure. I think what I need you to understand, especially if you're just starting out, is first of all, seams can be taken out. So if the stitch looks like crap and you want to rip it out, that's fine. You will probably be best friends with Jack the Ripper, your seam ripper, for the first few years of your sewing journey, and that's okay. Look at us. Look at us. We made a beautiful strip. Work through the rest of your pile and just make a bunch of these triple strips, and then I'll show you what to do next, okay? You're on your way. You are doing this. I am so proud of you. Keep up the good work. Now get back to sewing. Come on. Okay, my little sewing sweetie. Now we've got all these strips sewn together. What next? It's time to iron. Now, ideally, when you are quilting, you will want to iron your seams to the dark side of the fabric because on those light pieces, sometimes they can show through. However, if you are literally brand new to sewing, I don't think you should worry about that right now. And I want you to just iron the seams to one side or another. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that. So I am not opening the seam up. I'm just going to push it to one side. And I do that the whole way down. See how we do this? So they're all going one direction. Press your seams to one side. And then I like to go back over from the front and just double check that they're nice and smooth. We don't want any like major overlap on our seams. But again, don't stress yourself out about this. I want you to repeat this on all of your pieces until they're nice and pancake flat. I guess now might be the right time to tell you that like 80% of sewing is actually ironing. So look at all those pretty quilt strips you have now. All right, so there's a couple ways we can cut these, and I'm going to go like from the most like you don't have any tools at all in your arsenal to what my preferred method is, having some tools. All of these strips need to be cut down to 6.5-inch sections. The first way you could do this is with your scissors. First thing you want to do is square up your edge. So I'm going to do this using the scissors method, and then I'll show you with my rotary cutter. Lay it flat and straight, and we're going to draw a line to even up this edge. And while I'm here, I'm going to mark 6.5 inches over. So that puts me right there. Put a couple dots. And then from there, you're going to draw another nice straight line. And if all you have is scissors, we can just cut it. Cut along your line. And then cut along your even up line to get it nice and square. That's a 6.5-inch square right there, and it would work perfectly fine to do all of your squares that way. But it's going to take a hot minute, so let me show you a faster way. They make acrylic rulers in the size of 6.5 inches. This is a very common quilt block size. If you think you might make a few of these, it's worth the investment. You can get these for under 10 bucks at Walmart, craft stores. The other thing you'll need is a rotary cutter. This is a rotary cutter. It's insanely sharp, so please be careful. They make special gloves if you're brand new, if you want to be extra safe, that you can wear that will keep you from getting your hand cut. Flatten this out, line it up on your 6.5-inch line. This is exactly a 6.5-inch square, and you can do it that way. Cut them all down to 6.5-inch squares. You should get 6 out of each strip. The number we're shooting for on this is 78 6.5-inch squares. Here's why that is a great thing. To make this quilt pattern, we are going to make 9 rows of 8, which when you multiply that is 72 squares. So in case your cutting on a certain square is a little off, or if things aren't matching quite right, toss that square out, grab one of your backup squares and use that instead. That gives you 6 chances to mess up and replace it with something else. I love that about this pattern. That's again why it's perfect for beginners. It has forgiveness to it. We all need a little forgiveness sometimes. I am just, okay, this is how I quilt. If you want to put more organization to it, you go for it. I don't want to sit here and stress about it. These colors are all in the same hue. They're abstract. it's gonna be fine, okay? If you wanna organize it with like a little step down pattern, that's totally cool. You do that. But what the main purpose of what we're trying to do here is just try not to put two that are the same right next to each other. First square is going to be vertical. The next square, horizontal. We're just gonna continue that trend right down the line. Again, there is no rhyme or reason to this. It is not meant to be stressful. If this is stressing you out, take a break. Vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal. I need two more. This is gonna be such a happy springtime quilt. I'm excited. Perfect. There's our first row. I'm gonna show you how to sew this row together so that you can then complete all of your 9 rows. We are just gonna work our way down the line. So I'm gonna take my first piece, flip it pretty side to pretty side with my second piece, and I'm sewing a 1/4 inch seam right along this raw edge. When you get to the end, cut your thread, and this is what you've got. It's already looking fantastic. Now, take this next piece and you're gonna flip everything over and put those raw edges together. And again, if you want to start with a back stitch to ensure that everything stays together nicely, that's fine. It's your world and you do what you want. All I'm worried about here is that you're going vertical, horizontal. Horizontal. That's not a word. Vertical, horizontal. Oh my gosh, you guys. It's time for me to take a break, I think. Let's keep doing the line. I love jelly rolls because they're already coordinated for me. I am one of those people that I can't walk into a quilt store without a plan, or I will be there for the rest of time trying to come up with some sort of color combination. I love being creative. I feel like it's a strong suit, but color matching and like pattern matching, not a strong suit for me. And you know what? That's okay. We're all different. So for me, a jelly roll is ideal because I'm like, I find the color scheme that inspires me and just go with it. This is a wonderful beginner project, but also if you've just been sewing like really intricate things and you're even a seasoned sewist, most of us have probably made a rail fence type quilt like this because we just need a break for our brain. And this is a wonderful break for your brain. It's not a lot of thought. Because you used a jelly roll with coordinating fabrics, there's not a whole lot of drama with trying to match patterns because you're really not trying to match patterns because they already match. Got 2 more to go. Look at this beautiful line. You know, here's the thing. I feel like when you look at these fabrics separate, you're probably like, I don't know if that's going to work out. But when you accept the fact that it's just a color scheme for this, that's all the theme is just greens and springs and flowers, it really starts to show its beauty because you embrace the fact that it isn't going to make sense. It's not going to be organized. It's just going to be a feeling that comes along with this quilt, a feeling of spring and beautiful dainty prints that just make your heart leap when you see them. That's what the point of this type of quilt is. Let's check out this first row. I love that it's just beautiful hues and it's visually interesting, but it's not stressful and we're not worrying too much about it. I even just noticed that I've got 2 of the same blocks a couple spaces away. I don't care, it's fine. All right, so I'm gonna lay this down. And you want to lay these in order unless you're not worried about the order. The only thing we need to make sure of is that this next row starts with a horizontal. Yes, I've decided that's my new word. We want to start this next row with a horizontal strip and continue on. So make your 9 rows and then I'll meet you back here and show you what to do with them. The next step to this is we want to iron these. Now, there is going to be some seam nesting at this point in the project, but I don't want you to stress too much about it. The way to make this easy on yourself is to press your seams in opposite directions. So lay these out somewhere and on your top row, you're gonna iron all of your seams to the left. On the next row, we'll do all to the right and left and right and left and right. And that will help you nest them for the next step. I'm gonna press these seams. I'll show you how to press one, and then we'll start sewing all of these strips together. I'm grabbing my first row, and all of these seams that I just sewed, they're going to the left. It's also a good time to just repress all of your seams. So the ones that are already facing down or whatever, just reiterate that. But what I'm specifically interested in is the line breaks between my blocks. Those are the ones I want to get nice and flat. When you have your layout, the step before this, the way you want it, take a picture of it. That way, if you need to look back and rematch everything because you get mixed up, you have it. So these are all going left, which means that this row, I want everything going right. Flip them pretty sides together. And the seams I am most concerned about matching up are these right here. And that's why we did that with the ironing, because this is what's called nesting your seams. And they're gonna go one way, this one's gonna go down, and this one's gonna go up, and that will help them lay flat together. Let's sew this row. Now, as a reminder, we are not seeking perfection on this step. We want to do the best we can without having a panic attack. If this is your first project and your seams aren't matching exactly perfect, that's okay. I want you to keep going. This is not about perfection. This is not something you're going to enter in the state fair or whatever. This is for you to learn and grow. This is probably the trickiest part of this project. So if you need to step away for the day and come back to this tomorrow, this is a great breaking point. This is a great spot to just take a break. Maintain that 1/4 inch seam allowance the whole way. Pretty cute. All right, we're gonna keep working down the lines. Because I ironed this row to the right, my next row I wanna iron to the left, and then I'm gonna attach it the same way. Work your whole way down. The quilt top is sewn together. And this is what we've got. Isn't it so happy and springy? This is why I love this type of pattern. Is it's meant to be abstract. It's not meant to be completely perfect and precise. Not all of my seams match up 100% perfectly. We've got ones that aren't exactly right on the seam, and you know what? That's fine. It's fine. So now we have a choice. We can either quilt this just the way it is, which would be beautiful, or we can add a border to it if you're wanting to make it a little bit larger. Right now, it's a good lap size quilt. A border might make it a little bit bigger for you to have a little more room under it. So here's the funny story about the border I'm using. If you can see right here, I've been working on a tumbler quilt, and I actually put this border on that quilt originally thinking that's what I wanted to do. And when I looked at it after I put it on there, I hated it. So I ripped it off. I went with red and white polka dots on this one, and I'm super pleased with how that turned out. But then I had these already pre-cut pieces of a pretty blue springy fabric, and I thought, well, you know what? Can we make that work on this quilt? And I actually think that's gonna look adorable. I'm really pleased with it. These strips are cut to 6 inches wide, and then you just cut it to the length of your 2 sides, and then measure out the length of the 2 top pieces second, because those will be a little bit longer with the addition of your border. Let me show you how to sew these on. It's so easy. To attach this border, you can clip this if you want. Just line it up with the top raw edge of your quilt, and you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam right down this raw edge, connecting the border to the quilt. I'm gonna keep sewing this 1/4 inch seam, and then I'm gonna go across the way and attach my across piece. And then once I got those 2 side borders on, I'm gonna just go ahead and do the top and bottom borders exactly the same way. And I'll meet you back here to show you how the quilt top looks at the end. The border is attached. Let's take a look. I love that blue. It's so pretty. It's such a springy, happy quilt. This is why I love this quilt. I didn't invest a ton of money in this. This was a mental health sew for me. This was just spending 20 bucks to make something that makes me smile. And that is what quilting should be about. It should be the fun of it and putting together colors and designs that make you feel good. There are no quilt police. Nobody gets to tell you that your quilt is imperfect or that you did a bad job. Nobody. Okay, I need you to hear that. I sew because it fills my heart with joy, and the world is a very sad place sometimes, so this makes me happy. And if it makes you happy, you sew as many of these quilt tops as you want. Stay tuned for part 2, because in part 2, I'm gonna walk you through how to put backing and batting onto this quilt and just do a very simple quilt finish on your regular domestic sewing machine that anybody can do. Thank you for following along with me today. I'm Chelsea with She Sews Seams, and I will see you next time.